Welcome back to Glen Meakem on the Weekend. This is your host, Glen Meakem. We're at 1-800-507-1047. And in the studio now I have a great friend, sponsor, and just an all-around terrific businesswoman and entrepreneur, Sara Mohsin, who is the co-owner of Mohsin Mortgage Company. And Sara, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Glenn. It's wonderful to be back here with you.
Oh, it's always great to have you here. And I'm sorry the news on the economy is so negative.
Oh, my goodness. It's crazy insane, Glenn. I mean, what we're looking at right now with overregulation, I mean, the facts speak for themselves. We were just chatting about the reality of the situation with interest rates being low, and the FHFA is now going to be suing these banks. It is completely out of this world because the same government that actually has helped bail out these banks is actually suing them.
Yeah, I have a quote from Jim Angle reporting on Fox News and interviewing a guy named David Johns at the Heritage Foundation. Listen to this.
The Federal Housing Finance Agency is suing 17 big banks over what turned out to be risky mortgage loans. The banks and mortgage companies made more and more loans to people of low or modest income, and not surprisingly, when the recession hit, many borrowers could not pay. But there is plenty of blame to go around because everyone involved did just what Congress had ordered.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac was told to buy these mortgages. To an extent, the banks were pushed to make these mortgages.
It's just
incredible.
I think that quote was so great because, yeah, the Fannie and Freddie Mac were in the business of making these loans. We're in the business of enabling these loans as government-sponsored entities. The government was forcing banks to make these loans.
That's right.
And then the government bailed out the banks with, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars of our money.
Yes. In
the financial crisis, and then now that we're sort of 3 years after the financial crisis, still in the middle of the recession resulting from it, now the government wants to sue the banks that they already bailed out with our money to get money back from the banks.
Exactly. And I mean, here we are looking at the situation where there has been zero job growth. As you know, the numbers don't lie.
Yes.
People need to get back to work. We are moving forward. As business owners, you and I know that we have invested enough time and energy to try and move forward and help create jobs. However, when you have a government that's overregulating and looking at ways to make sure that small businesses cannot survive in this current market, then let's
making sure they're
right.
It's almost like they're dedicated to making sure small business cannot survive.
Exactly. And if that's the goal, then let us know so that we can start making some decisions. But things have got to change, Glenn. And
yeah, maybe you need to go back to Canada.
Yeah, perhaps. Because, I mean, literally, we are looking at a situation where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And in government, when you're looking at the time that has been spent, 3 years of this back and forth and bailing out these banks, now they're going to smack them down again and say, listen, we're going to sue you. It's just out of this world.
You know what strikes me, too, is just the cost.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, the amount people should appreciate. These are big banks that are being sued, 17 large banks, but they're going to spend. I guarantee you, there
billions.
Will be millions spent in the next couple weeks trying to figure out what the government's done to them, and trying to come up with initial defenses. And they'll have, once you get sued, you have like 30 days to respond. And
right.
I mean, they're going to be all kinds of lawyers getting paid $1,000 an hour in New York and D.C. who are. Who are basically paid by the government to pursue their side of the lawsuits and paid by the banks to defend their side, and it's all just. I mean, that's the only jobs this government is creating is jobs for lawyers.
Well, exactly, and as I've said before, I mean, interest rates are extremely low and they are falling. However, when you have a zero job growth, you just often wonder. I mean, here are the facts. In order to get financed, you do need to have a job, so that's the first step. Secondly, I really feel for Americans. I have my own, program with Salem Radio, which we were trying to arrange some time with you as well. Hopefully, we can get you on the air with us again shortly. But I listen to folks day in and day out in their struggles, and we do have that opportunity because we work with wholesale lenders, so we can go up to 90% financing or even 96% financing versus what the local banks do. So what we offer is very unique in the sense that you don't necessarily have to have 700 scores. You can have 640 scores as long as you're not delinquent on the mortgage. But here's the deal. 64% of Americans, because of this government, have been driven to not even have that opportunity to have an emergency fund. So the first thing that goes is when there's an emergency, they miss their mortgage payment. And once you're late on the mortgage, it's almost impossible.
Do you think there's this issue of so many Americans, a majority of Americans, not really even having savings anymore?
Right.
Is that been driven by our social policy? Is that because people feel like they have unemployment insurance to back them up?
Absolutely. I've had scenarios which you've seen folks that are asking for unemployment and they shouldn't even have been asking because of the fact that they have left that job and not actually been laid off so that they can maintain a fairly nice living off of unemployment. And, you know, as a Canadian and as an American, I have seen both sides. The reason I came to this wonderful country, I've traveled all over, was because in Canada, and I love Canada, but the approach is very much driven to a welfare state. And I will say that openly. As a businesswoman and someone that enjoys having a sense of purpose and enjoys being able to see something that you've created by yourself and given people opportunities and creating jobs, the worst thing that you can possibly see is having this country be driven to the ground by overregulation and having a very socialistic approach. Been there, done that, Glenn. That's why I moved here. And literally, it's time for us to speak up. It's time for us to take action for 2012.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. This guy Alan Kruger from Princeton, a professor at Princeton, was just recently in the last week appointed chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors for President Obama, and Kruger's a Democrat, but he's a Keynesian. He believes we should have more stimulus spending and jobs programs and all this stuff, and he's going to argue for all that. But it's interesting.
Right.
He's done a lot of academic work on unemployment. And it turns out that, and I'm not going to quote it here extensively, but I have it in front of me. It turns out that he's proven in his academic studies that when you expand the amount of unemployment insurance and the length of time, and you give people a disincentive to work, they don't work.
They don't.
Paying people, according to Kruger's own academic work, paying people not to work increases the incentive not to work, and thus tends to encourage longer periods of joblessness.
It's a reality. I've seen it, Glenn. I have seen it as a business owner. I've seen it face on that this is not a driving force. If you know that you're going to have this backup, you're certainly not going to be running around trying to find a job in this market. However, I have to say, this is the time for us to really take action, Glenn. And that's why I so enjoy sponsoring your radio program, because it's not a question of who's going to let me. It's going to be about who's going to stop me. And you know the person who said that. That's Ayn Rand. And it's very true. You have that philosophy of no one's going to stop us. And we have to make choices now, very, very clear choices about taking action in 2012, because billions of dollars are going to be spent regulating this country. And great people are going to start thinking about why we are here. What was this country built on? And why should we continue?
This EPA thing is outrageous. You know, the EPA was just within days or weeks of implementing this policy, where they were raising, I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but they were raising the ozone requirements, where the government was reducing the amount of ozone a coal power plant was able to emit. And the government recently has announced that air quality has improved by 41% between 1990 and 2008 across a variety of pollutants, including ozone. Air quality has improved by 41%. We all can look at the sky and see that air quality has improved a lot in this country, and yet now they want more.
They do.
And they were going to shut these new regulations were going to cost
$1 billion or more.
According to the EPA, between $20 and $90 billion a year. They were going to. The estimates are about estimates anywhere from 1 million to 7 million job losses.
Right.
It depends on who you believe, but 1 million to 7 million lost jobs over the next 8 or 10 years, and then it was going to shut down almost 20% of U.S. 20% of U.S. coal-fired electric power generation, and almost 10% of total generation. And Obama stepped in this week and said, okay, we're going to delay that till because of the economy and because of my election, we're going to delay that till 2013. And it's like, oh, well, thanks a lot, Mr. President. So now we have to go have all that pain in 2013. Give me a break.
It's insane. I mean, the fact of the matter is we're here now looking at folks that need to get back to work. We keep saying it over and over again, and no one is listening. And I've encouraged folks, because on our daily program with Salem Radio, with WEZE, literally I've had people on the air with me. They have refinance. Rates are in the 4s, if not 3s.
Yes.
Their interest rates are dropping. I've had folks that have retired and that are looking at just taking equity out. we can offer things that most local banks don't offer because we work with 30 wholesale lenders. Literally, do not miss that mortgage payment and then start thinking about it, or look at loan modification as an option, because loan modification really literally makes you lose your house. I've seen so many folks that have been current on their mortgage. It's been created by this government to do a loan mod, which makes sure that you have to be delinquent on your mortgage when you weren't, and that's the only way you can get approved for a loan modification. As I've said before, Glenn, we have to make changes ourselves, and in order for us to do that, we have to be financially healthy and also physically healthy and mentally healthy.
Right. And bottom line is, what you're saying to people is, don't rely on the government for these loan modifications.
Right.
All these government programs don't work. They will just, in the end, they will screw you.
They will. They've done it.
So really what you need to do is rely on yourself and rely on your own intelligence. And if you're intelligent right now, it is, you and I we've been talking for months, would never have predicted this because of this new, it looks like a double-dip recession maybe we're in.
Right.
Mortgage rates are at historic lows again.
They're dropping.
So if you do have a job,
right,
and you do have control of your finances, and you don't have a mortgage rate that's 4% or below,
it's dropping.
It's like time to refinance.
It
because,
sure is.
It's right there. So how do people get in touch with you?
Just give us a call at 1-800-662-9550. By the way, Glenn, I do have to shout out to my friend Sara Mohsin because she's been training me. I lost 12 pounds.
I know you look great. I know you're going to beat me in the race next year. Give me the number again.
1-800-662-9550.
Or go to mohsinmortgage.com. Or go to glenmeakem.com and click on the Mohsin Mortgage logo there, the little ad, and you can get all the information. But, Sarah, you're wonderful. You look like you're going to we'll see who wins the race next year, but thanks a lot for being here again.
Thanks so much, Glenn.
And one more time,
1-800-662-9550.
All right, this is Glen Meakem on the weekend, and I will be right back with more. We got a lot more to come. Be right back.